We got a pretty decent looking model, but now we need to just add a little more detail. The handle down here looks pretty good. We can certainly work with some of these edges and, play with that handle a little bit for a little more style, but you can do that on your own just by simply moving some edges and points around. What I'm going to do is come in and just tweak out the hammer itself. And let's just start at the bottom. So I'll hold the Alt key, Option on the Mac, and we'll come around, and I just want to sharpen this up down here. So to do that, we're going to work in edge mode. So down here at the very bottom, we'll press edges, telling Modeler we want to work with edges. And I want to select all the way around here. So I'm going to select two edges in a row, and then from the select drop down, choose loop. And it loops all the way around. Now what I want to choose from the multiply tab is edge bevel. And we'll just click on that, and you'll see it already start to work. If you open up numeric, and it's pretty much any of these tools, you can see where this edge bevel is working. So 94 millimeters. I'm just going to click and drag and just kind of tighten that up so that size gets a little bit smaller. And then click on the edge bevel, turn it off, and click a blank area to deselect. So now what we've done is added a nice sharp edge right inside there. You can do it on the inside as well. So you select a couple of edges. That tells Modeler which way to select the loop. So we select loop from the select, and we choose edge bevel again. It's also Control B is your edge bevel. And we'll just sharpen that out. Turn it off. Click a blank area to deselect, and let's do it one more time around this edge. Select loop, edge bevel, and we'll just click and drag to the left just to tighten that up. Spacebar turns off tool and click a blank area. So now that bottom's not so round after all, but notice that we still keep our nice smooth curvature out the front. So it works really, really well. Modeler has improved quite a bit over the years, and just has a really nice shape to it. And you'll see once we put our surfaces on, this will look really nice. So I'm going to save this now, incrementally of course. So now we have version 4. So let's tweak out a few more edges, and we'll move on to surfacing in our next video. Let's jump into the head now. And you can see that when we had put this together, if I hit the tab key, you can see we actually added kind of bevel of our own. So using the edge bevel is not really going to work too well on here, simply because we already have something right there, and there's not much geometry and there's not much room for the geometry inside there. So I can go to polygon mode, select this first polygon, press the B key again for bevel, and just kind of maybe tweak that a bit if I want, just kind of like that. Just giving it a little bit extra dimension there, but it's relatively sharp, should work okay for the hammer, but still has some curvature to it. So we'll Command S to save that. Bottom's still sharp. So now let's take some of these edges here. So we'll jump to edge mode, select the polygon, and then select next polygon. Now if you do a select loop, it's going to select, I'll press Shift A to fit it all in, it's going to select all the way around the best it can. And that's okay because we can just hold the Control key and then deselect the ones we don't want, rather than manually going in and selecting it all. And I'm not too worried about the bottom side here. That can stay just like it is. But I do want to take this side, and again I'll do select loop. And I should have done that first so I can not have both sides of these, but that's okay. Just hold the Control key and then Shift A to fit. So there's those guys. And multiply, edge bevel. And not only can you turn it inside out, you can actually widen that edge bevel and have a very soft fall off, creating just a very unique shape there, just like that. There's no reason you couldn't do that on this one. In this case, I'm going to move it left and flat like that. And then click a blank area, deselect. And now look how we've sharpened out that corner, but still kept it relatively round and molded. So then we can go to polygon mode. Take a few polygons here, go right up, and we can bevel these, or because we want them to stay together, use multi-shift, and we'll just kind of click and drag those in. You can turn off multi-shift, turn it back on, click again, and now you're actually using multi-shift on those original multi-shift polygons. And then you can do Shift H for scale, and you can actually scale that up. But when you scale, make sure your mouse your modes down here is set to selection. All right, so there's just a interesting little hammer, but notice that even with those sharp ends, it looks pretty good right there. Still smooths out right to the front. All right. So lastly, what I'm going to do is take these bottom polygons, and I want to just continue my selection all the way down to about there. Multi-shift these just to duplicate them like that. And I'm just going to kind of click and drag and pull that up inside there a bit. And once that's selected, you can Shift A to fit. You can actually use your rotation, but put your rotation with an action center of mouse. And when you go to, let's say, a side view, let's go like this, you can click and drag from that mouse position and shape how this works and how it makes for your model look. Okay. And if I wanted, I can disconnect these so that I have a couple of tight little prongs on the end, but I think this will work. See, and the advantage here is that you've got simple geometry, enough that you have detail, you know what it is, but not too much that it's not very workable. So let's do the last thing for this particular model, and we'll move on to other things. What I'm going to do is I need to select the right surfaces for here. So if I click on this and I hit the right bracket key, 2 over from the P, everything becomes selected because it was all built together. So we want the handle separate, so I'm going to right mouse around those points, around those polygons at the bottom, and then Shift right bracket key expands my selection. And when it's all the way up, I'll press the Q key, and we'll call this hammer handle. And I'll give it a base color, which is kind of a brown. It's always good. And then we'll close that out. And what I can do is the Shift quote key reverses my selection. So whatever's selected is now deselected. Whatever's not selected becomes selected. So it saved me a little bit of trouble there. Press Q, and we'll call this hammerhead. And we're not going to use these colors, but just to kind of give it an idea that we did change it. It's always good reference. So I'll click a blank area to deselect. Command S to save. Let's open this up so you can see it. So just some really simple modeling tools. Some of the tools you're going to use very often. Bend, bevel, making a circle out of a square, things like that. Using some of the edge commands. And really just going to town on a very simple model that you can make look very cool. So now that it's saved, I can go to the drop down and say Send Object to Layout. And that will dump it over into Lightwave Layout, where we're going to put on some surfacing and talk about lighting and rendering. So once we get through this, we've kind of gone through all the basics, and then we can start on our next project, building a flying, flapping thing.